Nigerian Export Promotion Council to strengthen trade with West African countries. Rice farmers to partner international organizations to boost production. European markets mix as Hong Kong's tech stocks drop amid Asia markets fall. Just as oil steady as market juggles Federal Reserve hike with supply fears. This is Business Express on the network service of the NTA, and we are reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Musa Abubakar. Now let's begin the program by telling you the Nigerian Export Promotion Council has commenced talks with development partners towards strengthening the trade between Nigeria and West African countries. Comfort Amadou reports.
I used to pay for a basket of tomato last year. It was almost double or 3 times.
The global economic shocks as a result of rising inflation, dwindling oil revenues, and the war between Russia and Ukraine have compelled countries to develop various response measures to revive and sustain their economies. Nigeria, in response to these challenges, is diversifying its economy to keep up with the global economic realities by expanding Nigerian trade and brands to international markets and West African countries. The Nigerian Export Promotion Council, one of the key drivers of non-oil export, is interacting with ambassadors, consuls of embassies, and development partners towards bridging trade gaps in the sub-region.
More trade with foreign countries, more forex, more stability of the naira.
These efforts of the Nigerian government to reinvigorate the non-oil sector and the country's economy are seen as timely and commendable.
Economy, trade, investment should be not only the main objective of diplomacy, but the main objective of all the states, the governments should go there.
We will continue to create opportunities and also ensure that we are providing the rights and appropriate export incentives.
We are hoping that in the near future, we will be able to include South African exporters in one of these events, because South Africa and Nigeria are already working together in quite a number of areas that seek to bring social cohesion between the people of both countries.
The NEPC is also leveraging on opportunities in the AfCFTA to grow the country's foreign exchange earnings and access to international markets. In Abuja, Comfort Amadou.
Nigerian farmers are raising concerns over the recent situation as it affects food demand and supply. Musa Ali reports that rice farmers have signed a memorandum of understanding with international organizations with a view to increasing production to meet local and regional demands.
By the time Nigeria gets it right, we all know that the whole of West Africa and Africa gets it right. And that is why Sajenta concentrated on giving us a helping hand to see how we can maintain the successes we have achieved in the area of food security.
It provides them a greater appreciation of the technical issues associated with water resource management, pest and weed control, and optimizing the potential for rice production in Nigeria.
We are here to really work with them and try to give substance to the program and the final touch of the design, the program collaborative efforts between these two organizations to truly implement the phase 2 of the Rice Revolution program of Nigeria.
President of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, has given strong assurance to U.S. investors that Africa is a secure, competitive and profitable market for investment. Justin Bemui reports that Adesina was speaking at the U.S.-Africa Business Summit in Marrakech, Morocco, where he told American investors to see Africa as a logical investment destination and to engage with the continent in a win-win partnerships.
Africa is ready. The U.S. is ready. Let us turn conversations into commitments. Let us turn commitments into investments. Africa, ladies and gentlemen, therefore offers a very profitable investment destination. Savvy investors know.
Investing for most people has typically involved an investor choosing good and profitable ventures for good returns on investment. For impact investing, the intent is not only to make money for the investor, but also to create a measurable benefit to society. To know how this works, I have with me Toyin Sani. She's the Executive Vice Chairman, Imagine Africa Group, and Chairman, Wholesaler Impact Investment Fund of the National Advisory Board on Impact Investments. Also member of the Finance Committee on the Wholesaler Impact Investment Fund Committee, recently inaugurated by the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Clem Agba. You're welcome to Business Express.
Thank you, Musa. It's a real pleasure to be here with you this afternoon.
Okay, can you take us through the concept of impact investing? Because when you say impact investing, a lot of people might not know what you mean, but can you tell us about impact investment?
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here on NTA to discuss this very important initiative. Impact investing specifically relates to the practice of making investments for the benefit of society to achieve social and environmental objectives, whilst at the same time seeking to make profitable returns for investors. Increasingly, the governments and also private sector sponsors of impact investments all over the world are realizing that it is possible to do well and whilst doing good, and that it is very important to create a framework that enables opportunities to be provided for investors to put their funds into initiatives that have catalytic impact on the development of the economy, whilst expecting a reasonable return from those initiatives as well. And that's really the concept of impact investments as advanced by the Nigerian National Advisory Board on Impact Investments, on which I sit, and also by the Global Steering Group on Impact Investments, which we are affiliated with. And this covers over 30 countries globally.
Okay. Now, the private sector is known to be the largest employer of labor through jobs and wealth creation, while government provides enabling environment. If so, where is the place of impact investment in this equation?
Thank you. So, impact investments is a space in which it is very important to have a handshake between the government and the private sector. Now, private sector investors are interested in developing the economy, but naturally they expect reasonable returns. Traditional ways of financing businesses have not been able to move the needle when it comes to funding micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises who actually drive, who are the engine for economic growth. And so the government needs to step in with policies and also by sponsoring wholesaler funds that can, or seeding wholesaler funds that can then crowd in private sector investments into this very important space.
Okay, now let's turn to our attention to the global community. The global community is battling to ensure availability of energy. Any move for impact investment in this sector?
Oh, absolutely. There's great opportunities for impact investments in the energy sector. First of all, because of the massive dearth of energy supply across Africa, for example, it creates an opportunity. So every time you invest in that space, you are investing in a space that has multiplier impact on productivity in the economy and the growth of the economy. But very importantly also is that there is increased move towards a departure from fossil fuels that are regarded as harmful to the environment to all forms of renewable power. And that offers a massive opportunity for impact investments in Africa.
Okay. Then how are funds raised for this cause?
Okay, so we are following a leading global example, which is from the United Kingdom, where you have the Big Society Corporation, and this corporation was funded 80% at inception by the United Kingdom government. And so what we are saying for Nigeria is we have recommended a $1 billion wholesaler impact investment fund that will be raised in the next 5 to 10 years. But to seed the fund, we would like to see the fund start with a minimum of $100 million. And of that $100 million, we would like the federal government to do as close as possible, or better still, even better than the UK government did with the UK government's wholesaler investment fund. So at the initial stage of this kind of fund, it is very important for government to show commitment, because that's what's going to crowd in the private sector investments, and that's what's also going to bring in international multilateral agencies and development finance institutions. And we are very excited that in Nigeria, the federal government has embraced this initiative and agreed that the Honorable Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, would be the champion for this initiative at the federal government level. And he has assembled a high-powered committee led by the PAMSEC Finance, Alhaji Aliyu Ahmed, and comprising of the Director Generals of all the key relevant agencies, including the Budget Office, including the Debt Management Office, including NISA, including SMEDA. And the idea is, and I represent the private sector on that committee, the idea is for us to come together to see how this fund can become a reality in the quickest possible time.
Okay, you talk about the wholesale impact investment fund has been conceived to raise about $100 billion to sustainably cover the gaps in financing MSMEs. This is huge. How is it coming?
Okay, let me be specific and say, or let me clarify that the objective right now is $1 billion, $1 billion, and the initial seed fund is $100 million. Okay. We think that this is realizable. We believe that the federal government, has an opportunity to deploy some of the, funds that are available to it of the federal government, and then encourage and crowd in investors from the global impact investment community, including the development finance institutions and also domestic investors such as the pension industry, the banking and finance industry, asset managers. Our role on this committee includes essentially advocacy initiatives to create that ecosystem on both the demand and the supply side, and of course to help governments to put in place the right policies that will favor investments in that space.
Now, okay, the committee recently inaugurated by the minister, as you said, has till December 2023 to complete its assignment. Can you take us through the expectations of this committee?
Thank you. So the immediate expectations of the committee are to review the proposed governance structure, and framework that has been designed already by the Nigerian National Advisory Board for Impact Investments. Then to make recommendations as to how this structure can be improved, and how this structure can be adapted to encourage federal government participation, and then to recommend for the federal government the amount to be committed and the source of funding, and then also to oversee the appointment of a qualified and world-class fund manager to manage this fund in a transparent way that will encourage significant private sector investment. All these should be achieved between now and December 2022, actually. And then the timeline for the raising of funds and takeoff of the funds can extend to about June 2023.
Okay, you are seeking government's consent and commitment to contribute up to 90% of the seed capital of the fund, which is, well, you've said it earlier. How do you intend for that to happen? It is, I mean, we're in an election year, as you can see.
Yeah, I don't want to preempt the brilliant work that we believe that this well-assembled committee of all the key stakeholders, including the National Budget Office, that have been appointed to this committee. I don't want to preempt their work, but we have done our research. We believe that there is opportunity for the federal government to put funding into this, or to commit funding into this initiative, and we're going to be exploring specifically where those funds will come from in the meetings to come.
Okay, while you're talking about that, any collaborations? I know Smeden is also working on an MSMEs bank to bridge the finance gap for MSMEs. Any collaborations?
Absolutely. So there are going to be significant collaborations with all stakeholders. This is a highly inclusive initiative. Existing collaborations include GIZ, which is the German agency. Existing collaborations include the Global Steering Group for Impact Investments across the globe. Existing initiatives towards collaboration include an engagement that we have already begun to have through the European Chamber of Commerce, Eurocham. Collaborations also are expected to take place with the entire pension industry, and also with existing impact investment practitioners. I will say, obviously, that we expect to collaborate highly with all the relevant government agencies, such as Smeden, that the DG of Smeden is on this committee, the Debt Management Office of the Federation, the DG is also on this committee, NISA, and the Budget Office, amongst other stakeholders that are on the committee.
Okay, it is a government-private partnership. Where is the fund manager likely to come from?
We would expect a private sector fund manager, okay, that has the track record and proven capability to manage funds of this kind. And this is important because even though we're asking the federal government to provide, the significant seed capital to for the takeoff of the funds, we expect the funds to be significantly invested and matched up over time from the private sector, and especially the international development finance community. They will expect certain standards in the fund manager, and they will expect independence from government in favor fund manager, and those are the driving reasons for why I expect the fund manager to be a private sector, experienced private sector player.
Okay. Thank you very much, Toyin Sani, for coming on the program to share your thought with us.
It's a real pleasure to be here. Thank you, Musa, for having me.
Now moving on, providing mass housing is a potential revenue earner and investment driver for every society. To this end, the Nasarawa state government is poised to generate about 4.6 billion naira from one of its housing estates. Deputy Governor of the state, Emmanuel Akabi, made this known at a ceremony in Karishi, Nasarawa state.
If a project like this can give a government, when it's fully completed, 4 billion naira every month.
And first off, we drive what we call the population to the city, and we've been able to achieve that. We have a can boast of 6,700 subscribers.
Now to energy, oil prices were relatively steady on Monday as the market balanced supply fears with expectations that rising U.S. interest rate will weaken fuel demand. Brent crude futures for September settlement rose $1.18 to $104.38 per barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures rose $1.21 to $95.91 a barrel. All futures have been volatile in recent weeks as traders have tried to reconcile the possibilities of further interest rate hikes, which could limit economic activity and thus cut fuel demand growth against tight supply from disruptions in trading of Russian barrels because of Western sanctions amid the Ukraine conflict. Gold prices slip on Monday as an elevated dollar and prospects of an aggressive interest rate hike by the U.S. Federal Reserve this week dented demand for non-yielding bullion. National Exchange records week-on-week decline of 0.45%. Muplan.org has weekly stock update.
The Nigerian equities market recorded a bearish week as the market declined by 0.45% to close last week at 51,979.92 basis points. Market capitalization dropped to 28.031 trillion naira. A total turnover of 917.1 million shares worth 14.8 billion naira with the exception of the NGX Insurance, Merry Growth, Oil and Gas, Growth and Sovereign Bond indices which appreciated while the NGX ASM index closed flat. The financial services industry measured by volume led the activity chart with 648.2 million shares valued at 6.2 billion naira traded in 9,293 deals. The consumer goods industry followed, while the third place was the conglomerates industry. Trading in the top three equities, UBA, GT Holdings and Access Holdings accounted for 355.6 million shares worth 4.1 billion naira in 3,400 valued at 6.3 million. 14 units of federal government bonds valued at 83 million naira in 31 deals. 9 remained unchanged.
The equities market resumed negative to close the first trading day of the week on a bearish note. The all-share index dropped to 51,400.53 points this Monday from 51,979 in the previous session. Market capitalization also depreciated to 27.7 trillion naira. Investors exchanged 98.8 million shares valued at 2 2.514 billion naira in 4,314 deals. Our European markets mix as Hong Kong's tech stocks drop amid Asian markets fall. Nekoko has more on the markets.
Hello and welcome to the Global Markets Review. Investors were in a cautious mode this Monday ahead of the Federal Reserve's two-day policy meeting. Overall, the start of the week across markets began quietly. In Asia, Hong Kong's Hang Seng Technology Index dropped as major indices in Asia Pacific slipped. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong fell 0.22% to close at 20,562.94. The Shanghai Composite also depreciated by 0.6%, while in Japan the Nikkei 225 dropped 0.77%. European markets were slightly higher as investors braced for the key monetary policy decision from the U.S. Federal Reserve. The CAC 40 of France was up by 0.34%. London's FTSE also topped 0.17%, while the German DAX was up by 0.18%. U.S. stock futures also rose slightly on Monday, coming off a positive week for the major averages. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 102 points. S&P 500 topped 0.35% and Nasdaq Composite gained 0.36%. In Africa, markets were mixed as concerns about inflation continued to weigh on investor sentiment. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 declined along with Morocco's Free Float Index and Namibia's overall index in early trades, while Kenya, Tunisia and Ghana posted gains. And that's Global Market Review.
Well, that's it. Business Express returns Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Thanks for watching.